Must have been waiting for me.
Yes, sir.
That's all I can say.
Nah. We waiting for him.
So, you know what? Something wrong with you. Crazy for him.
We waiting for him, man.
He crazy.
Alright, yo, give me your phone.
Give me my phone. For what?
Oh, talking on the phone while him teach.
Yeah,
That's right.
No, I said I'm gonna plug it up. I ain't gonna have it in my hand. We're gonna plug it
Yeah,
up.
real quick.
We're gonna plug it. We're gonna plug it in right before we start.
Shit.
Oh, you need me to pull it up?
Oh, I thought you knew it. Okay. Yeah. Can't.
I haven't done that yet. I got the preamble down back yet. Hey. We the people. No, I didn't get to it yet. Aboriginal Republic of North America. For those you know it, you say it. Repeat after me. We the people of the Aboriginal Republic of North America.
We the people of the Aboriginal Republic of North America,
Asserting our natural Aboriginal rights.
asserting our natural Aboriginal rights
As the oldest recorded Aboriginal indigenous peoples of the Americas.
as the oldest recorded Aboriginal indigenous peoples of the Americas,
Consisting of an Aboriginal Union of indigenous peoples.
consisting of an Aboriginal Union of indigenous peoples,
Living in accord with natural law.
living in accord with natural law,
The law of our ancestors.
the law of our ancestors.
Do hereby recognize all nationals of the Aboriginal Republic of North America
Do hereby recognize all nationals of the Aboriginal Republic of North America
as unified community.
as a unified community,
Establish our divine right
establish our divine right
to self-rule,
self-rule,
a common defense of our nation,
common defense of our
a
nation,
complete unified will for progress and prosperity
a complete unified will for progress and prosperity,
by and for our people,
by and for our people,
establishing justice by way of natural law and equality,
establishing justice by way of natural law and equality,
and complete autonomy as a nation.
and complete autonomy as a nation.
Ashe, peace.
Peace.
How's everybody today?
Flat out excited, now tell me.
Great. Definitely appreciate everybody for being here today.
It's a great day to be alive.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I actually had the awesome privilege on yesterday of being at an event down in the Washington, D.C. marketplace. And for those of you that know me, know that I actually work within the financial industry area. And so one of the things we do, why is my phone acting like this? One of the things we do is I work with a company by the name of Legal Shield. What we do is we provide legal services to every average day person because it's the one service provision that actually protects constitutional rights. Now, while we are part of the Aboriginal Republic of North America, and we may not be in position where some of the legal things apply to us to the full extent, one thing you will find is that we are actually navigating within certain aspects of other foreign jurisdictions. The other aspect is that money has no nationality. Money flows no matter what nationality you are, no matter what political body, no matter what state government, no matter what you're part of, money is money. Now granted, different currencies may have different rates of return and may have different values to them, but it's all money. So one of the reasons why I work with the legal service protection piece is because in the state in which I live with, which is considered Pennsylvania, there are 12.7 million people here. Out of 12.7 million people, in regards to Aboriginal Republic of North America, I would say 99.99999% of them have no idea who the Aboriginal Republic of North America is. So therefore, I'm interfacing with individuals that have nothing to do with the government that I'm a part of. And I'm okay with that because it provides for me opportunity. Opportunity to create financial wealth, not only for myself, but for my family, for my friends, and for individuals I'm endeared to or connected to. So I'm going to start today's class out by showing you a quick video that I came across that I found to be extremely valuable. And today we are going to talk about how we're building some economic success. Yesterday, the reason why I brought up yesterday is because I had the opportunity to sit in front of a gentleman that was worth $100 million. $100 million. Now, in the room, we had approximately 7 different millionaires, but one of them worth $100 million. One of them got up and did, he did a presentation and he wrote a book which was called Money Mindset. It's called Wealth Building Roadmap for Network Marketers, and it's by a gentleman by the name of Brian Carruthers. Brian Carruthers, he got up and he said, listen, I was born with this silver spoon in my mouth and I'm not going to apologize for it. He said, a lot of you guys were miseducated when it comes to money. You were taught that the love of money is the root of all evil. He said, no, money is not evil. It's the people that have the money that are evil, but the money itself is not evil. He said, in fact, I love money. And he said, that's going to go against the principles you guys were taught in church. He said, but what I'm sharing with you is the reason why you're broke is because of the way you were taught to deal and handle money and your perceptions concerning it. And if you hate the very thing that can create the wherewithal of financial stability, how can you ever gain it? And so, I mean, it was a real strong paradigm shift, in the room. Because, of course, when we're taught, build up, especially if you grew up in a Christian church, you're taught, hey, build up this stuff for your heaven. And, don't worry about today. But then there was a contradiction that said a wise man builds an inheritance for his children's children. So how do we build an inheritance? What occurred? What created a paradigm where we're no longer even willing to begin to build an inheritance for the children's children? If we're robbing Peter to pay Paul, to pimp Mary, Joe, and Sue, how can we build anything? So I came across this video, and I thought it was rather appropriate for today. So we're gonna watch a video real quick. It's about 3 minutes, but just watch and take some notes, and then we're gonna talk about money and how money works and why it's not working in our favor, and then how we can create paradigms where it can work in our favor. All right, so let's start here. You notice the time clock is counting down, but it's counting down by the years. Passing off wealth to his offspring, building inheritance to his children's children. If you notice, look how big the money's growing. what you guys thought about that. Give me some feedback on what you just saw.
Quite accurate to me.
I'm sorry?
Looked quite accurate.
Quite accurate?
Absolutely.
Anything else?
I mean, the video pretty much said it. I mean, you could add, lots of other things, but it just really would be, repeating a lot of stuff. It's definitely, they have put a iron system of oppression, system in place whereby it works to our disadvantage. And they got 400 years jump on us in terms of the government granting them land and privileges and holding us back for 400 years and discriminating against us and killing us. And so they're really ahead of us. And today, everything still applies. It's just more sophisticated in how it's practiced. So discrimination is still going on. They vowed to never teach the science of finance, teach the science of mating, teach the science of agriculture, teach us the science of warfare, teach us the science of economics. They vowed to never teach us any of those things. And so you would think it would be in the school curriculum, but it's not in there because the school curriculum by design is not to teach you anything, but to indoctrinate you. Not to teach you how to think, but teach you what to think. So yeah, we're behind, and not behind because we're slow, because we're ignorant, because we're savage and unprincipled, because we were put behind by a racist system, institution.
Now, let me ask you a question. Whose responsibility is it to teach your offspring, theirs or yours?
It's ours.
Okay, so here's one key, and just hear me. I heard you make the statement when you said they did not teach us. However, where did they get their education from? We didn't teach us. That's what I was saying.
No, I'm just saying you would think that would be a part of the education institution, but it's not designed.
It's not their responsibility, though. And so here's one key aspect that you'll find. Where do Chinese children go to school? Or Asian children? Where do they go to school?
Here, within their communities, or come over here to get their education and go back.
Where did the Jewish community send their children to get educated?
Their own institutions.
So why don't we have our own?
I
Well,
just told
part
you
of
why.
that video.
Who stops us?
I just told you why we don't have our own.
See, at this particular juncture.
It's not going to happen that fast. Listen.
Hold on, wait. See, I'm not saying that we can't. I'm not saying that it's not here. But why aren't we creating a paradigm to have it? What's preventing us from doing so?
Because we're
I
our
believe
owners.
it's all part of that system. It got so many so discombobulated, confused. They don't no longer care. They're just so comfortable in their position in the white supremacy. And yes, it is our responsibility to teach our children. But in the long run, if you don't know, how can I teach it? If I'm just now getting this knowledge, how can I teach it to my child until I get it? And I think that's a part of our problem, especially with the older people. They can't relearn, so they can't reteach. I believe that's a great problem in our community.
I know because it's a
problem,
lot.
The problem, when you look at all the people that's come and said, look, they want to save us, they want to liberate us, they want to take us out of our condition. But the one thing that was not done, didn't build institutions that perpetuate the knowledge and the information that would lift us up.
Whose responsibility was that, though?
It's our responsibility. But what I keep saying to you is that, the thing that's working against people most, and I'm talking about the masses of people, is the conditioning and indoctrination of self-hate, lack of self-faith, lack of self-confidence, the lack of unity, the lack of collective consciousness. Okay, so people have to be actually restored. And yes, it's our responsibility to restore us, and that's what Honor is trying to do, and other institutions out there.
Trying to do it.
Well, we're working on it.
Okay.
I said try.
I don't like the
because
word try.
I said try.
We're active.
I change it. We're working on it.
Yes.
It's a slow process because you have. If you want a strong society, you got to build strong individuals. So since that was not done, now we're trying to pick up. We're working on picking up the work to do it. It's going to take time. So when you ask the question, why haven't we done it? It's because of what has been done to us over 400 years. And you just don't get out of that. They took you out of physical bondage, but they had a more sophisticated form of slavery, putting chains on your mind.
Okay, and I agree with that. However, yes, sir.
Conditioning
Conditioning.
is
Yes.
number one reason why we're in this state. Because we did do the work. Black Wall Streets.
They
and
destroyed it.
we did the work, but after the conditioning, more so of the mind,
Yeah.
wasn't even the battering of the body.
Yeah.
Like you said, you hit on conditioning of the mind.
Mhm.
So now we gotta retrain that.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I look at when I saw that circumstances, I thought about I got on to go from the paradigm of the way I grew up and taught. So my mother didn't send us to school to learn history. She taught us history prior to.
True.
She told us about the kings and queens of Africa.
True.
So when I went to school, I didn't go with the mentality I came from slavery.
No.
I went the mentality I came from kings and queens. So I was always at the top of my class. So I was fighting for first place. Me, one other black guy, and one white girl. We fought for top of the class, and we literally fought back and forth, back and forth. 1 week I was there, then he was there, then she was there, and I was there, and he was. So we fought back and forth, and the thing was about attaining excellence. Our children can attain excellence but not be an A student. How so? Because if the C is the best your child can do, they have obtained excellence, and that's okay. It's not about the grade. It's about the activity, the action toward what is happening. Now, the white man didn't stop my father from passing down generational wealth.
At all.
He didn't stop that. That was my father's choice not to do that. My grandmother could have chosen to pass down generational wealth had she chosen to do so.
Did she have it?
Um,
Did she have wealth?
actually, I put it like this. To me, she did, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, because wealth is relative.
But-
Okay, because wealth, it could be the fact that you own a suit and you pass it down to the next generation. That is wealth if that's all you have. But the thing that we don't do is we don't put a will in place that now protects me from state government relative to those assets. I know when my grandmother died.
Excuse me, brother. You can have a will in place in this, and the probate still won't get you.
See, okay, let's do this though. Those are anomalies. Generally speaking, that if a will is in place, for the most part, it does protect the asset. Now there are circumstances that arise where there are anomalies that occur, but generally speaking, so the thing I like to do is deal with the generality, only because of the fact if I can get into every specific thing, guess what? We'll be here all day long.
But I wouldn't call them an anomaly.
Okay, I'll put it like this: out of 100,000 people,
It's by design. That's why we're trying to get out of this jurisdiction and create our own. It's not meant to work for us.
okay, and that may be true. However, you're in it.
Yeah.
So how do you make it work for you? See, my thing is that I'm not going to deal with what I can't change. I'm going to deal with what I can change. One thing I can change is this. As we're working forward toward economic success, and when I say success, that's relative to the individual. Success to you may be, hey, I just want a comfortable home. Success to the brother might be, I want to just be able to travel. Success to him may be that he leaves $1 million for his children. Success to her may be, hey, you know what, I live a comfortable life, hell with the children.
You're talking individual.
It's individual. However, we have to get to the point where we are not dealing with just individual, we're dealing with collective.
That's success to me.
And in a collective mindset, again, wealth transfer means that I am doing everything within my power to protect that which carries on and carries forward. Not that I can't deal with the anomaly that occurs. I can only deal with what is in my power. Now, if I've done everything in my power, and then you still have to deal with circumstances, that has nothing to do with what I set forth. It has to do with that I protected everything I could within my knowledge base. So what we need to be doing is seeking after better knowledge base to provide better protections, and then putting those layers in process or in position to now make those protections available to me.
I agree.
Now with my grandmother, I'm dealing with me specifically, she passed away. When she passed away, I don't know if there being any will. I visited my grandmother every single Tuesday. for at least 3 year stint once I got a chance to meet her. And of course, I didn't know my grandmother early on. I learned of her years and years later, and then, life circumstances, and eventually got to the point like, I'm going to make sure I take the time out and visit my grandmother. When she passed away, my aunt came along and decided that she was taking everything. Now, even the things she didn't want, instead of her passing it to the family, she threw it away. So she took pictures out of albums that were from like 1913 and ripped the pictures up and burned them so that we didn't have the history. Why? That's ignorance.
So who establishes, I think within a family, I mean, I understand that terminology, ignorance.
Right.
But what motivates an individual to possess that type of mentality within their own family structure? That's as toxic as I can imagine.
It is. And the thing is that the way I saw it was that it was self-hatred. Literally, it's a self-hatred thing. It's her personal issues concerning things. Now, I know a little bit more into it that I can't share. Because
I got you, but I think just the element that it exists.
Yes.
Is a sadness.
It's a sadness. It is.
I mean, we sometimes as a culture, we have so much of that, regardless of where it came from. Like the brother was saying here, I think the strides and leaps and bounds that we need to be taking is toward eliminating all of that.
Right.
It is progressive. I got you. It seems like we're just going kind of really too slow. And
Right.
it's this new age of technology where, that word now can go for extremely quick. It's just not. And what is that? What is that stigma?
Right. So the thing is this. What we can change is we can change ourselves, our own mentality toward things, and then we can perpetuate that amidst our children and our children's children. We can't stop everyone from thinking the way they think, but we can begin to give them a seed, plant a seed of change. So one of the things that, for me personally, and I'm working toward making this a mainstay for the whole, is that one of our focuses is economics. Because here's the deal. You will find that people will listen to you when you got some money. Let's just be real.
Yeah, because their focus is at the center of their struggle. I
Right.
don't care who you are, what color you are, what neighborhood you live in, your focus is about your thing.
But what does most people struggle? When we talk about struggle, what do most people struggle with?
Oh, it is finance.
Ignorance first, and then finance.
Well,
No, I don't even think it's that. I think you can't even assess the ignorance, in certain situations because of the financial struggle. Because you got to do this. Most people don't take the time to think past what they're going through.
I'm saying you can have money and still be ignorant.
this is true.
I agree with
but
you.
answer
I
me a
agree with
question. If you got money and you're ignorant, can you at least buy some education?
Yes, you
You
can.
could.
But if you're broken ignorant, what can you get?
Well, you can
God.
still seek knowledge.
You
That's
get
hard.
God.
You
That's
But
This is
on the
hard.
real, but let's be real. If I am broke, am I seeking ways to feed my family? Am I seeking ways to find knowledge?
It's a big
Well, let me
leap,
put it
man.
this way. Let me put it this way.
You
Now,
don't get the next meal.
I just want to repeat something Drew said. He said, money don't make the man. Man make the money, and national standards, right? Strong national standards. So, I mean, if you gave us money right now, we'd be broke again in terms of our people. If we got reparations today, we'd be broke again.
Who's
Because
we?
Most of the people.
Okay, you
I'm
can say
talking
most of the
about
people,
masses.
not we.
Well,
I
let's
would
say.
be broke.
I'm talking collectively now.
Okay.
Collectively, the majority of people will be broke again because of ignorance, financial ignorance.
So have you
Sure.
ever heard of the word
Say
causative formation? Or third monkey theory? Okay, causative formation is
There's
a term that
100 monkey
says,
theory.
100 monkey theory, cool, 100 monkey theory, same thing, causative formation. It basically says that when a small group of people begin to resonate at a specific vibration, it automatically spreads to the rest of the group.
Okay, so
So-
and I mentioned, earlier when I spoke, that as a mass of people, we haven't reached that critical mass yet.
Mhm.
And it's a slow process, and Honor is working on it and other groups, but you have to understand what we're dealing with, okay? Let me quote this to you. Quran. It says, be ye stones or iron, or that created matter that's been created in the minds of men, it is the most difficult to be resurrected or change, but it shall be. It can be. It's the most difficult. It's easier to recreate the entire physical universe than to recreate the matter that's been created in the minds of men, to show you the difficulty of conditioning. So when you understand the problem, and which is what Arnold's working on the problem, understanding the problem and correcting it. We have to be restored, okay? Until that happens, you can start blaming the victim like everybody else has done, said it's our responsibility how we ended up the way we are. Oh, yeah, but we had a whole lot of help staying where we are. And you want to call it Willie Lynch syndrome or whatever you want to call it, you can create a permanent slave in perpetuity, with that conditioning of the mind, and then it's perpetuated generation after generation. Look what happened with welfare. They put people on welfare, made them lazy, made them dependent, and they had generations on welfare. And they did not, who was going to give them the education? Who's going to teach them to get off there and do something for themselves? Even when Elijah Muhammad came, he put things in place. He had farms, he had schools to show you success so people could be attracted. But it only attracted so many because their minds were stuck.
Okay, so my question is, what's your change then? Because every time we're talking about, then you bring me back to this. So help me out.
Back to nothing.
You just
I'm
did.
just letting you know that we are up against a 400 years of conditioning and all kinds of blocks.
So
and
what are
we're
you up against right now?
Same thing. We're working on tearing those walls down and rebuilding ourselves.
So what do we do? Where do we start? Because that's elusive to say we're
questions.
working on.
I'm saying you asked questions, I answered your question.
I believe
Maybe you
starting
should ask another
education.
question.
Actually, you didn't answer my question, because if you did, I wouldn't have asked it again. So maybe you're not clear on what my question was. Okay. No, because I did ask you a question, but I didn't get an answer.
Every question you asked me, I answered it.
Ask him one more time.
Okay, so let's do this, because if I'm telling you you didn't answer my question, because it was my question, you can't go on your perception, you have to go based on what I'm asking and what I'm saying. So for me, I didn't hear an answer for that. So I'm looking at you as an elder. So as an elder, if I ask you, what do we do, and you say we have to work on it, that is too elusive for me.
You
It's
just asked
just
me
like
a question. I said
pray
every
and
question
say,
you asked me before I answered it. You just asked me, what do we do?
right, I'm asking you, so what do we do?
What we're doing, we have to claim our nationality, we have to become conscious, we have to educate ourselves, understand the problem, we have to begin to work on ourselves, individual, know our faults, our weaknesses, our shortcomings, our strengths, begin to build on our strengths and eliminate the weaknesses or the faults, okay? We got to begin to develop a collective mind, because you can't have unity without a collective consciousness, right? And then we have to keep educating the community and hoping that we attract positive energy. You're talking about that vibration we're trying to build. We're trying to build that vibration. We are functioning on the lowest level of vibration, and not by accident. It ain't because we chose to function. It wasn't completely by our choice. We participated in that, but it wasn't completely our choice how we ended up on that low vibration. So we have to elevate our vibration. We have to learn how to work together and trust each other. And we have to look to the past and take all those things that were beneficial for us in the past, keep those, get rid of the things that were not beneficial, learn from our mistakes, and build on that. And we have to begin to build some institutions, because it's the institutions that perpetuate what you put in place. If you don't have nothing in place, it's just going to fall down again. Every time you start something, we had tons of leaders. When they left, when the movement died, everything, we were right back in the same place, disintegration. So we have, we got to build institutions, schools and hospitals and jobs. First important, we got to work on the economics that we talked about. You can't have a strong community. In fact, we don't have no community right now. We got neighborhoods. If you want a community, we got to become smart and start building the economics, the finances, and on that, then we have our political agenda that supports the finances. The economics supports that political agenda and our political site, and we just keep building from there. We have businesses, people employing ourselves, employing each other, keeping our money in our community. Our money don't circulate because we don't have a community. It goes to everybody else. So, I can keep going on, giving you answers to what we do, but that's what we're working on.
Okay, so we're very clear. Where I was trying to get you back to was the point you just said is economics. That's really what I was trying to take you back to, because all of those other things are extenuating circumstances based upon a economic conditioning. And the economic conditioning does have to do with the mental, it has to do with a whole bunch of other things, but if we work on our economic piece, you will find that most people have arguments and issues and resistance because they're broke. Really. And I'm talking about economically.
Here's the part I disagree with you about. You can work on the economics all you want. If you didn't work on that mind, you're gonna have problems.
Do me a favor then. Let me get there where I have a bunch of economics, and let me be done with a bunch of economics, and then we'll have that conversation. Because most of us have never been there, so we are going based upon theories,
No, it ain't theory.
not based upon what we've
Both of
seen.
You are right, but you got
I'm
to
not
also
talking business
understand,
right
you
there.
can't, we, the people ain't gonna listen if you ain't got the money, you can't do nothing for 'em. That's how that's how they was able to be successful, because at least they gave food, shelter, and things. If we don't have no money, they not gonna listen. We can recondition ourselves. I talk to people every day. Any new piece of knowledge I get, I try to pass it on. But they ain't trying to hear me because they don't see me walking around with my old African. They don't see my garden that I have at home. They don't believe. I can't help them. So economics do have to be first. And then we got to start educating.
So let's do this, because we don't want to take it too far off course. We're going to stick with where we are. And it's okay to disagree. Let's agree to disagree, but let's move forward.
And it ain't theory I'm disagreeing
But
on.
let's agree to disagree and just move forward. Because see, what happens is this is where generally we get stuck.
No.
We get on one argument and we stay right there, and then we never get what's necessary for the whole rather than the individual. And
It was a good discussion.
it is a great discussion, and we need to have it. Those type of arguments have to happen because they're healthy.
Do you think I said something that wasn't healthy?
I just said they're healthy.
I said, did you think I said something that wasn't healthy?
No,
Everything I said.
everything everyone shared is helpful and it's healthy. The thing is that again, if we stay there, then we'll end up on that topic rather than what we're prepared for. So one of the things is that I believe, and again, this is personal belief, and everyone's not going to believe this. It's okay, because we just had a call on Tuesday night where we talked about economics, and one person got extremely upset because I made the statement of we need to stop promoting our businesses as ethnic. We need to be a little bit more universal. We live in an economy where you don't want to pigeonhole yourself into gaining money from just one ethnic group. No, I want money from everybody. Now, granted, where am I going to perpetuate my money is in my own community, but I want money from everywhere. I could care less whether you white, black, brown, purple, green, a flying horn, flying eater, flying people, purple eater. I don't care who you are. If you are, part of a culture, yes, I want part of your money, because I believe what I bring is value. So as long as I'm bringing value, then I'm looking for a return. Value versus investment. So, as you saw in the video, of course, like you said, they got a 400-year jump on us, straight from the door. And actually, when you look at it from a compounding interest standpoint, it's way more than 400 years.
Yeah.
Because you can't, if I right now, I don't care how educated I am presently, if I go up against a white boy that's uneducated, and we are running the race, he'll beat me every day.
When I said that, you said don't talk like that.
That's not what I said. No, that is not what I said.
Okay.
Okay, so when we're having these conversations, don't take it personal.
I'm not taking it
You
personal. I'm
had
listening what
to,
you're saying.
because what did I say
You
that
ain't
made
saying
you
anything
say?
different than I'm saying, but when I said it, it was different.
Right, and when I said the same thing, you said in different words. You thought I was gonna be something else. We saying the same thing, we just using different words.
Okay, and it's a
different
beautiful
avenues.
thing to recognize that if we are saying the same thing but we're using different words, even in learning and teaching, everyone teaches different, everyone learns differently. There's kinesthetic learners, there's audible learners, there's visual learners. I work to use all aspects of it because of the fact that I realize you're dealing with different dynamics. However, we're going to, again, sometimes we'll agree on the topic, sometimes we won't. Sometimes we're saying the same thing, but we're not hearing one another, or it's not being expressed in a manner that you receive it where you see that it's saying the same thing. And so sometimes that conversation has to keep on going and going and going, and eventually like, oh, okay, we come to a common understanding of exactly where we are. So no, I didn't say anything. If I did say the same thing you said and you felt that way, I'm not clear on what which area that we was discussing that you said that about, but it's cool.
Well, let me say this, brother. I'm interested in what works.
Right.
I'm interested in real live examples in real time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, we could have academic discussions, but let us talk about what we know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to talk about beliefs because that's not useful to me.
Right.
We want to talk about things that we can really apply as application. What can we apply?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm interested in.
And that's what
As a collective.
that's where I was taking it to. What works? All right. So, has anyone ever had, or would anyone desire to have a home?
Absolutely.
Okay. When you purchase a home, how do you normally buy it? Generally speaking, you normally get a mortgage. Generally. Okay. And that's why I say generally, right? Because each person is different. Some people economically can afford to purchase a home outright. So, first off, I want to talk about how money works. Because most of us don't have functional understanding of how it works, especially when it comes to a mortgage. Okay, so when it comes down to it, I want to go over exactly how money works relative to a mortgage, because that is my background. I'm a mortgage broker by trade. I have a degree in accounting. I worked in taxation and various areas of financial growth. So, a mortgage has a loan that's amortized over a period of time. Generally, you'll hear most people talk about they have a 30-year mortgage. A 30-year mortgage, the word mortgage is, the word amortized comes from the Latin amorti, which means to kill. So it means to kill, which means you're killing it over time. Okay, it's not an instant kill. Unless you got money, you can just buy it out. But then that's not having a mortgage. That's purchasing a home. It's two totally different things. Okay. Anytime you buy a home, there are two different areas. There's the beginning balance, and there is the ending balance. In between that, you have a payment. The payment is comprised of interest and principal. Okay? And the reason why I'm going over this is because when we really functionally understand how money works, we can now have money work for us rather than work against us. And a lot of us have money working against us because, like you said, money circulates in our community how many times? It comes into and then leaves. So we have to create a paradigm where it begins to circulate more. But how do we do that? One is by understanding money. So because most people are familiar with housing, is the reason why I'm using this specific area of mortgage, because most people understand either living in a home, owning a home, or wanting to own a home. So let's say you have a $100,000 mortgage, okay? What they do is they take and they apply interest rate. So let's say this interest rate was at 4%. 4% is low, although you can find a 4% interest rate under FHA presently, okay? FHA guidelines generally have nothing to do with credit score, supposedly. FHA is not supposed to be regarded relative to credit score. It's supposed to be regarded based upon rate present day. However, when it comes to the black community, that is not the truth. But it is when it comes to the white community. You're not handled the same. Even though you're supposed to be, the truth is you're not. Okay, and I've worked in the mortgage industry, so I've seen it happen. So let's say you got a 4% interest rate. What they do is then take this chart, which is an amortization chart, and you would go over to what the interest rate is, which is 4%, and then you would go out to what amount of years it is. So the actual amortization rate is going to be 5.729 based upon present day chart. Now, when you get a loan, you're thinking, oh, I'm paying 4% interest. You are. But now you have to understand how amortization works in order to know how you're paying your mortgage. So yes, you're paying 4%, but you're paying 4% over a 30-year period, which is actually 5.729%. Is that clear? All right. Now, why they have these charts, I don't get it personally, but hey, it is what it is. I know that it exists, so I'm telling you that these are...
That's the money game.
This is the money game right here. You have to know how it works.
Let me ask you something.
Yes.
What is the source of the money?
I'm not dealing with that right now. I'm dealing with how it works, just how this
That's
works
how it
relative
works.
to the mortgage.
That's how it works.
Okay? But you're taking it somewhere where I'm not teaching, so I prepared for a very specific aspect of the mortgage, okay? So, when it comes down to it, at 4%, what you have to do is then take the 30-year amount, okay? And the 30-year, $100,000 at the when you round off the 5.729, this actually comes to 6%, okay? 6% times the yearly payment amount, okay, divided by 12 months is what's going to give you your monthly payment. Without this chart, you can't figure out what your monthly payment is. And that's why you have to have the chart. This is something that they create. You got to pull up. It is, but here's the funny part. Now you know. See, the thing is that once you know, no matter what the game is, now you know how it's being played. The issue is most of us have no idea how it's being played. So therefore, how can we even agree or disagree? We're signing into contracts that we don't even know how the contract is working. All we know is the fact that it's there. Okay?
It's the same thing happens for like car loans, home improvement loans, or things like that. Does it work in the same way?
It works very similar. Not exactly. This is very specifically regarding mortgage, but there are other charts for other type loan circumstances. Yes. Okay? So, when it comes down to it, your monthly amount is $477.42 monthly payment. Now, most people think that when they make that monthly payment, that's paying the mortgage. So not the truth. Okay? So of that $447.42, of that $333.33 is interest. That's what you're paying in interest. Principal, you're paying $144.09 in interest out of that money. In principal, in principal out of that money. So what happens is at the end of the month, they take the amount of money that you paid, which is the $477.42. They take out the money that they made, which is $333.33, and they apply the principal of $144.09 against the balance of $100,000. So that means in the second month you owe $99,885.91 because you've only paid $144.09 toward your mortgage principal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But
Okay.
it's a bunch of crap, man.
But here's the deal. Again, no matter how much crap it is,
what it is.
knowing it can actually put you ahead of the game. Because most people have no idea how it even works.
How does that put you ahead of the game?
I was gonna ask the same question.
By the time I get through, you'll understand how it's going to put you ahead of the game.
Like I own a home.
Mm-hmm.
I've experienced this a few times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the language, the terminology, the figures. However, I think the system that's in place
Mm-hmm.
to even have to that you go through to have to do this
Mm-hmm.
is a problem. That's the problem.
It's a predatory system.
Right. It's just, I mean, understanding it is one thing, but I think,
Solution.
I just think, right.
Right, but see, I'm trying to make sure you understand it before I even present a solution. Because if I just present the solution, well, how does this relate to me?
Well, I
I
guess,
understand.
Get what
I
I'm
guess
saying?
for me being here the first time, I think what I should have asked was, what are you gonna discuss today?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because I was just calling on one of the brothers who gave me a card.
Mhm.
They said that I asked a specific question about something else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and he said, I forgot who he said sponsors the classes,
Mm-hmm.
but their class is here starting at 12 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Blah, 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 blah. So I was like, okay. So I called this morning, re-identified who I was and
Mhm.
what I was asking about.
Mhm.
You know, when he gave me the card, he said the classes are today from 12 to 6. So I
Mhm.
said, let me get here.
Okay.
So, but I had no idea what the class is about.
Right, and it changes each week. Each week we
Okay.
have different topics. So this particular week, I'm speaking very specifically on how money works relative to mortgage and financial. So I'm going to get into some other aspects. So let me go through this.
Sure. I
and
was
we can
just-
get through. So what happens is this.
Brother Charles, can I mention something real
Yes,
quick?
go
So
ahead.
you're talking about interest rates,
Mhm.
and as far as I'm concerned, coming from a different school system, not in the United States, but in West Africa, we learn about compound interest, which is a formula you use, you know, whatever interest plus whatever. So, and that's how you calculate this thing that you're doing over here is compound interest, because they're not doing it by interest rate.
Well, this
by,
is
by simple interest, right?
but this is wait.
Interest?
We're not doing compound interest yet. We're talking about amortization. We will get to compound interest. I haven't got there yet.
This
So I will be
government,
getting there.
How they get from simple interest, 4.4% to 5 point over a period of time. I mean, what is the formula?
When I get to
Oh,
that,
okay, all right.
right, you're jumping way ahead. Okay, so this is what occurs. What I do is I just did it over a 12-month period, just to show how it looks. Okay, and I did the formula, and what you'll find is that in payments, you will have paid in 12 months $5,729.04. However, the interest that you paid, which goes to the bank for holding that supposed loan, is $3,967.95, is what they earned off of them loaning you that $100,000 for that 12-month period. What you will have at that point paid in principal is $1,761.09, which means at the end of the 12th month, you will still owe $98,238.91. Okay, so that's over a 12-month period. So over a 30-year period, what this is supposed to do is eventually it's supposed to take you down to zero, where you owe zero. However, in this country, of course, you always owe tax. So even though you may, as they call, burn the mortgage, you may still owe tax. One of the things that one of my mentors shared with me is understanding money and how it works, in dealing with rate of return, dealing with return on investment and things of that nature. So let's say I did buy a $100,000 home. What do most people seek to do when they get a mortgage? What's the first thing they seek to do? Once they bought the house and they have a mortgage, what do people seek to do?
Oh, I know a lot of people that try to get another loan and get another house.
How about pay it off?
Yeah,
Most people seek to eventually pay it off.
that 30
Okay.
years.
Now, I'm not saying everybody. I said most.
Some people do, yeah. That's
Okay.
just the focus.
That's the purpose of getting a mortgage,
How do I get the
a
terms
loan.
down? How do I get the, all the rates down? How do I get this done quickly? How do I
Right.
get from underneath this? Right.
Okay, right. So they're looking. Some people double up on their payment. Some people, I mean, they do. There's a whole lot of different things that everybody employs different strategies. So I'm just talking about generality. From a general perspective, most people get a mortgage for the purpose of paying it off and owning the home. Okay, that's just real. Now, there are other strategies that people employ. We're not dealing with those other strategies. Just the point of people looking and seeking to pay it off. So, what happens is this. There is a way in which we can create financial liquidity, meaning that money is available to us and begin to work on our behalf. Now, an investment into a property is a wonderful thing. It's not a bad thing to own a property, because properties over time are supposed to appreciate, which means they gain value, not depreciate. Now, you can buy in a area that will depreciate. There are times that have happened, but this is where you now have to be astute enough to do your homework to know how to, navigate through knowing those areas that appreciate and those areas that depreciate.
It's hard to determine all the time.
But generally speaking, you still have to do homework, and that's why it's called homework. I mean, just like, for instance, you can invest in the stock market. You can see a stock growing. You invest in it, then it plummets. It's par for the course. Generally, most areas appreciate. Most. Some areas depreciate. You know, and I've seen some people purchase in areas that depreciate.
What's the primary cause?
when that
If you don't mind,
happens.
if you don't mind just going off track, just speaking generally, you know, what's the major cause? The major cause of the depreciation, let me say this, substantial depreciation.
Substantial
Of a
depreciation.
normal residential neighborhood.
If that occurs, it's normally due to the fact of, it could be school system, it could be, like for instance, I know over in a Germantown area where they found out that there was a creek built under, and the houses begin to sink. Of course, the area starts going down. It could be crime. It could be, it's a whole lot of different factors. So,
See, I thought that,
yeah.
and I'm right at the crux of trying to do a whole lot of research. Within the last 3 years, I lost approximately 47% in an area that wasn't supposed to depreciate more than 4.
Right. And when that occurs, here's the issue with that. Now, we deal with liquidity. Let's say, for instance, you have bought a $100,000 home in that area, and you paid off the $100,000, and it depreciates. What happens to your money?
It's done.
Goes down with it. Now, granted, you can recoup some of it if it's like a rental property, and let's say it's in an area that is not like the house is sinking or something that.
It's not. None of the factors that you mentioned even apply remotely to this area.
So you would have to actually see the challenge with that. You got to know the area, and then you got to look at the demographics and figure it out. And that's something that is a little bit more intense.
Yeah, it's something else.
I just want to say something. The other problem is, you know, whether we want to recognize it or not, if people are poor and can't afford the tax base, the area is going to depreciate.
Yeah, but
Poor people.
But I agree with that. But I think that there's a respective ratio that takes that into consideration. You know what I'm saying? As a low, a medium, and then an extreme. You know what I'm saying? But this is like way past the extreme. You know what I'm saying? I mean, on an average, you know, you have a certain, I think, scope that can cover certain things that happen. You know what I'm saying? Over a period of time.
Right. So what we can do is actually.
But when it's this to me is like an anomaly. This is something that's just you just can't relate it directly to any one particular or any group of things that could have happened to cause such a substantial decrease.
So
one of
the things we can do is connect with one of our law masters that can look over some of this stuff and see if there's any remedy for some of the circumstances you're dealing with surrounding the mortgage and things of that nature that you may not be aware of. That can then bring you some financial remedy.
I still owe the money. That's the difference.
Right. And that's the whole point. So,
right.
But back to topic at hand. So let's look at this, okay? Most people, you know, they take monies and they purchase a home, okay? So most people, they pull money, either they save money over a period of time, or they pull from a 401k, retirement savings, things of that nature, right? So let's say, looking at money, let's say you were to take and have a interest rate on a checking account of 4%. Now I'm going to actually use the 4% for a savings account. Let's say savings. You're not going to buy a savings account of 4%. Right now, savings account is paying 0.0005. It's either 0.005 or 0.0005.
If you did that.
Most, you know, I just checked with a friend of mine at their bank, and he laughed at me when I said 4%. But I knew it wasn't going to be 4%. I just wanted to get his response. So let's say you put away $400, okay, each month for, let's say, 10 months. All right. You're going to have $4,000. Let's say you took that $4,000 and you decide that you're putting it down on a home. Let's say it was gaining 4% over each month over those 10 months. That would have been $144. You would have gained in interest. But the moment you take that $4,000 out, what happens? It stops the interest from growing or accruing in any way, shape, or form. So now you're right back at square one. So let's say you save again and you end up with $4,800 in it. And then life happens, roof leaks, and homeowners insurance has homeowners insurance only covers but so much, and you have to pull $4,800 out. You're back to zero again. So what you'll find is in our personal economy, most of the time, if we are good at saving, we begin to save and we'll save and we'll save, but then we have this interrupted compounding interest effect that occurs over a period of time. Is that clear? So, what I'm doing is literally sharing with people how they can take and have uninterrupted compounding effects with their money, so that this doesn't consistently occur, where when you pull from, it stops your money from compounding. All right. So there's something called the rule of 72. Rule of 72 talks about investment and how quickly it doubles. Okay. So you'll find out the rule of 72 is the interest rate. The number is always 72. All right. And what you're doing is if you take the actual rule of 72, the actual rate divided by the rule of 72, it gives you the amount of years that it takes for your money to double. Okay? The higher the interest rate.
Say that again, just the last part, the rule 72.
Rule 72.
The actual amount of what?
Right there. So, it's actually, you take the rule of 72, what the rule of 72 is 72 divided by the rate of return times the time for interest to actual double, for the amount of the interest to double. So what I'm actually doing is show a quick video clip that explains it, so it's a little bit clearer, okay? And then we'll go back to the discussion. So it's actually, again, it's the rate divided by the rule, or the rule divided by the rate. So the rule is 72, and then you divide the interest rate into it. So if it's 72 divided by 3, it's 24. 72 divided by 4 is 18, and so on and so on. This particular rule of 72 only works for interest rates from 4% up to 18%. Outside of those, it doesn't always work exactly.
Those numbers are number of years, 24?
Yeah, 24 is, yes. Number of years, yes.
That's the word that I missed, years.
Number of years.
Number of years.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's go here real quick.
Hi, welcome to Solving the Puzzles of Money. Today we're going to talk about a financial concept called the Rule of 72. Now, the Rule of 72 is just a simple calculation that gives you the approximate number of years that it's going to take your money to double based on the interest rate that you have with your investment. The way it works is this. If you look over here, if you have a 4% interest rate, 4 goes into 72 18 times. So if you were to have $10,000 at a 4% interest rate with compound interest, you're going to have to wait 18 years for your money to double. I don't know about you, but I don't really have that many 18-year periods in my life to sit around and wait for my money to double. At 6%, your money's going to double about every 12 years. Quite a bit better than 4%. But then ultimately, if you look over here at 12%, your money's going to double every 6 years. Quite a significant difference down here at the bottom. This person ended up with $640,000. Now, based on the Rule of 72, a one-time contribution of $10,000 will double 5 more times at 12% than it will at 3%. What we find is banks right now are giving people actually less than 4%. Most of the banks I've been looking at today give about 1%, where 1 goes into 72 times. So if you put $10,000 in at 1%, you're going to have to wait 72 years for your money to double. I don't know about you, but that's not something that I would be interested in. Ask yourself this. How many doubling periods do you have in your life? Here's another thing a lot of people don't realize. When you put your money into a bank savings account, they're giving you your 1%, or let's be generous here and say that they're going to give you 4%. But what the banks don't want you to know is what they're doing with your money. They're taking your money and investing it right over here, and they're getting a much higher return, closer to 12%. So they're more than happy to turn around and give you your measly 4% back. They're making a huge profit on your money. What I'd like to see you do is invest your money yourself into the market, get that higher rate, get the 12%, and skip the bank. Thanks for tuning in, and we're going to teach you some more financial concepts later.
Okay, so I just wanted to show that real quick because what that does is just kind of like gives you a little feel for how the rule of 72 works, okay? When it comes down to it, really the question is at that particular point, how do we get to some of those you know, things that will create for us that? Most of us have not put in any type of thing within our personal economy that's going to allow for our monies to double, okay? So most of us are very unfamiliar with compounding interest, okay? So let's show you something real quick on compounding interest so that you're clear on exactly how that works.
I'd like to make it
It happens so often, you almost get used to it. Which is why being put first takes some getting used to.
Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide is the exclusive insurance partner of Plenty.
Sorry about that.
Say disregard.
Right.
interest is the interest an investor earns on his original investment, plus all the interest earned on the interest that has accumulated over time. It is easier to think of compound interest as interest on interest. To understand compound interest, let's first look at simple interest, the interest earned on the original principal only. Suppose you deposit $10,000 into a high-interest savings account at a 5% simple interest rate for 3 years. The interest you earn each year is 5% times $10,000, which equals $500, for a total of $1,500 of interest at the end of year 3. $500 plus 500 plus 500. Now instead, suppose that you deposit the same $10,000 at 5% interest compounded annually. In year 1, the interest you earn is the same, $500. But in year 2, the interest you earn is 5% times $10,500. The original amount plus the interest you earned in year 1. So the second year's interest is $525. In year 3, you earn 5% interest on $11,025. $10,000 plus 500, year 1 interest, plus 525, year 2 interest, or an interest payment of $551.25. In total, you earn $1,576.25 in interest over 3 years with compounding interest versus $1,500 with simple interest, a difference of $76.25. The effect of compounding becomes especially powerful over longer time periods as the amount of earned interest becomes larger and larger.
Okay, so that's talking about, that was very simplistically talking about compounding interest, how it works. Now, I'm giving you basics because I don't want to get too deep into it because like, it gets really complex as you go. However, what you'll find is that when you have uninterrupted compounding interest that is occurring, your money actually grows much faster than if you interrupt it. So, same scenario. Now, the first thing I gave to you was something, you know, within a savings account. Even though it says checking, I meant savings. There's another way in which you can actually put aside money, which is considered to be something called a private reserve. We do a strategy called building your own bank. And so let's use the same scenario. You put away $400 each month. And let's say you get to the 10th month and you need to borrow $4,000. If you put in $4,000 and you take $4,000, what's left? Okay? With a private reserve account, you still have $4,000 left. The reason why is because you're not actually pulling the physical money, you're taking a loan against the money, but it's a loan from your own personal bank. So therefore, as you're paying it back, you're paying yourself back. You're not paying back an institution. Does that make sense? Okay. Then what happens is, so let's say another 12 months go by and you need to pull again, same scenario, now roof leaks or whatever, and it goes above threshold of your insurance, you need 4,800, you pull that out. Instead of it taking your balance down, again, it's a loan. You still have this compounding interest effect. So what you'll find is that the first scenario that I gave you where you pull the 4,000 and you're constantly putting in the 400 and then it pulls from the base and so you're back to zero, and then you pull 48 and then you're back to zero. The difference with this is it continually grows, okay? So at the end of, let's say, go on for 83 months, okay? By the time you keep pulling and taking away, pulling and taking away, pulling and taking away, let's say, I'm sorry, in 35 months, you would actually have $4,000, 4,400 in the account that every time you take money out, it actually reduces the balance. But in the account where it doesn't reduce, you end up with $13,200 over a 35-month period. But the difference with interest is this. It's compounded over time for 35 months, where the total interest gained is, the total interest gain on it would be $34,320. Wherein if you were in the account that constantly withdrew, you would actually have gained interest of $11,280. So think about this. Would you rather have an account set up that you, if you draw from it, if you do, or if you draw from it, you actually get a loan from it, and you can just pay it back over time, but it still does not create that interest, that compounding interest being interrupted. Does that make sense?
That's how the big banks get rich.
Exactly. That's how big banks get rich.
Fractional
So I
reserve
just walk
system.
in and say I wanna do a private bank compound interest, how do I?
Well, that's where I come in.
It's a product
right.
you buy.
It's actually, yeah, it's a product. It's a
product
way
you
in
buy.
which you create for yourself what's called your own personal economy. Okay? What happens is, this is what white people have been using for years to create wealth. This strategy, this is what Walt Disney used to create Walt Disney World. So when you learn these financial strategies and you begin to employ them, the first video I showed you, even though you're still dealing with that circumstance of being behind, but it gives you a sprint to get ahead. You get what I'm saying? So if let's say I employ this strategy, let's say you employ this strategy and I don't. Because you employed this strategy, what simply occurs is that you now you'll outrun me. You'll beat me in the economic game. I'll lose to you if you employ this and I don't. If that makes sense.
I guess now the only thing is, what's paying a good rate of interest? Kind of product is out there that at least they're promoting, let me say that. That's giving you at least something decent.
And that's the whole point, is most of us don't know what to employ to create this. You know what I'm saying? And that's where you have to have someone that has been working in the money game to help guide you through that. And that's why we have to work together to make those dynamics occur. Okay? I got one more video and then we'll get back.
With a little bit of interest and a lot of time, compound interest can work miracles. In fact, compound interest may be considered one of the most powerful concepts in finance. Compound interest is reinvesting earned interest back into the principal of an investment. Earning interest on top of interest increases the principal, resulting in exponential growth over time. Exponential growth is the acceleration of growth in an investment's principal. Exponential growth is the result of letting interest compound over time. This idea can be a little abstract, so let's look at a hypothetical scenario to better understand the power of compound interest. Suppose there are two investors who have a starting balance of $10,000 each. They both decide to buy the exact same investment on the same date, and they both plan to hold their investments for 30 years. But one investor plans to withdraw the interest at the end of each year, while the other plans to reinvest the interest and let it compound. Let's fast forward 30 years to see the difference in potential returns. In this example, let's suppose that the investment earned 5% per year. The investor withdrawing interest every year would have earned $500 per year. Over 30 years, the earnings would have totaled $15,000. That's not too shabby. But let's see how much of a difference reinvesting the interest could have made. The investor who reinvested the interest would have possibly earned $33,219. This is more than double the return of the other investor. This is the power of compound interest. Now, let's take it to another level and discuss the importance of time. Compounding over a long period of time can potentially lead to exponential growth of a portfolio. Let's look at another example to understand how important time is to compounding. Suppose two investors have portfolios worth $100,000 each. The portfolios hold similar investments. They both use compounding to grow their portfolios 6% per year. One investor needs the money to retire in 20 years. The other will need the money to retire in 30 years. Let's see what a difference 20 years can make. At the end of 20 years, the $100,000 principal will have grown to $320,713. Now let's see how much the other investor would have earned. As you can see, the additional 20 years of compounding resulted in the principal growing to $1,028,571. That's more than 3 times the return of the other investor. Now that you understand how time impacts growth, let's discuss 3 ways how you can harness the power of compounding. The first step, and perhaps one of the most important, is to start investing early. The earlier you start, the sooner you can gain the advantage of time. The next step is reinvesting earnings. When it comes to investing, earnings are typically in the form of capital gains and dividends. Some brokers may allow you to automatically reinvest earnings, or you can simply buy more investments with earnings from capital gains and dividends. The final step is to avoid possibly the biggest obstacle many investors face, which is taking excessive risks that can lead to large losses. After all, compounding only works if you're earning on your investments. Of course, always earning a profit is easier said than done, because investments sometimes make money and other times lose money, particularly stock investments. You can't guarantee your investments will make money every year, but you can avoid taking excessive risks that can lead to large losses. Large losses can potentially be reduced by allocating your portfolio across different asset classes, such as stocks, bonds, commodities, and currencies, and diversifying your portfolio within each asset class. To help reduce large losses, resist the temptation of taking excessive risks in the hopes of earning fast money. Because when it comes to harnessing the power of compound interest, slow and steady is a better approach.
So, the reason why I showed you that is because sometimes people don't get the fact of how money grows, and that compounding interest makes a huge difference. You just saw how the one young lady, she took out the interest and she interrupted the compounding of the interest alone.
The last thing you should be thinking about at the age 65
Really?
is money. The last thing you should be thinking about at age 25 is money.
Stop. You? Alright, so when it comes down to it, the thing, one of the great questions you asked was, how do you find something that has a solid and secure rate? Okay? So one of the things we suggest with people is something that you were taught different. When I say you, I don't mean you as an individual, I'm speaking in general, you. We were taught to invest in term invest in term life, and take the rest of your money and invest the difference somewhere else. What we teach is to take and invest in whole life. When I talked about Walt Disney, what he did was he invested in a whole life. And over a period of time, he was able to borrow against his policies and then take and create Walt Disney World. Interesting strategy. Very specific type of whole life. It's not just anything because they have a whole bunch of different things, but it's a very specific type of whole life. So what we do is we, especially for young people, works extremely well because if you, let's say you have children, let's say age just born to 5, and you start investing into a whole life policy for them, by the time they're age 18, they could be a millionaire, literally, because of the way it's structured. So, we talked about a strategy before where the 7 principles of building wealth, and remember the very first principle was pay yourself what? First, exactly. So we've been taught for so many years, give 10% to the church, 10% to the church, 10% to the church, or to your religious affiliation. Always make sure you're giving. Well, the one part that we weren't taught is give 10% to yourself. So fine, if you want to give it to the religious organization, I'm not saying taking away from that. But what about the 10% to yourself? Because it does say, you know, in certain scriptures it says, you know, that charity begins at home and then spreads abroad. Well, if you're taking and saving 10%, where are you saving it at? You save it in a bank account, what happens? What interest is it growing? Minute. Do you even notice it, honestly? Just imagine if you could put it in a vehicle that automatically gains you 4%. What would that look like over a period of time? So we have some people that, you know, have lump sums that we take and we help them re-strategize and pull from 401ks and create this. And I'm going to tell you why I say pull from a 401k. If you have a 401k, it is considered to be a tax-deferred account. At present time, we're in the lowest interest rate in the history of our country. So, if it's a deferred interest, do we anticipate interest rates going higher or lower? So if they go higher, in this deferred interest, do you pay a higher interest rate or lower? Does that make sense? So why defer it for later when it's automatically considered to be thought to go higher later? Why would you then want to defer it? Does that even make sense? But see, we don't think about those things from an economic strategy standpoint. All we know is, hey, well, you know, I was told to do this, you know, it looks great, all right, let's do that. Does that make sense? So what we do is we take people through a whole process. We do what's called a priority planning sheet. So I do have that for each of you. You can take with you, and you know we can touch base a little later. The sheet's filled out. We have a conversation. We go through some stuff, and I share with you, based upon where you are presently, how to create your personal economy and create a private reserve bank for yourself. Okay. So, can I use your Luna? What how old are you? I just gotta use your. You don't feel comfortable setting up? It's cool.
Not really.
Brother.
No, I'm 74.
74, thank you. Okay. Male. Let's say you wanted to save money each month. Approximately how much would you want to save each month? Let's say you're doing 10% of that. Just guesstimate. I don't need an exact number, but let's say you're saving 10%. Approximately what would that be? 200. Okay. Alright. So what we do is we set it up where we have certain things in place to make sure that
only one we got on that is the outpost. The outpost is this point.
So let's say we were doing it where you were, do you have any grandchildren?
Yes.
30 grandchildren?
Wow.
Okay.
You got a business right there. It's a business.
That's
where I'm going.
Yeah, that's corporation action right there. Legacy business.
There you go. So. Alright, so let's say I'm gonna do it this way. Let's say you said that you're gonna take, what's your youngest grandchild's age?
4.
4. Okay. Let's deal with a number that will work in the system. So let's say you took one of your grandchildren. I'm going to use age 18 because it just makes it easier this way. Alright, at age 18. Let's say you started them at age 18 on something like this. Alright? And let's say we were putting $200 aside each month. I mean each week, each month for them. Okay?
I'm curious.
Okay, alright, so this is what would happen. The first year you put in $200 a month, so that comes down to approximately $2,329, okay? Let's say what would happen is the cash value that will be available to them available to them after that first year would be $1,200. Second year would go up to $2,400. That would be available to them if something happened and they needed money. Because like you have circumstances occur. Alright? Third year would be $3,700. Fourth year, $5,400. Fifth year, so let's say they were 18 and 10 years later they're 28 years old. Alright? Let's say at that particular point they would have $19,000 available to them that they could pull from at any given time. Now with whole life, of course, there's a death benefit attached. So at that age, if God forbid something happened, let's say he pulled let's say he pulled 19,000, okay, from it, and God forbid they passed away at an early age, the death benefit would still pay out $243,000, but what they would do is take the amount that he borrowed against it minus the face value and then pay the rest out. So they would take about $20,000 away, so they would still end up paying about $223,000 out to the family in death benefit, even though he took a loan against that policy.
What's the face value of that policy?
The face value, it goes up over time. So to start, it starts at $150,000.
Okay.
The first year, but the second year, it's at 170, 179, 189,
so it's
198. So it's structured to appreciate. So it goes up, but his actual loan value amount that he's able to pull from, if God forbid something happens, goes up. So let's say he went 20 years, and all of a sudden he wanted to buy a car. Okay, let's say he's going to college. Let's say it's 20 years later, and he wanted to buy a car. He don't have to go to a bank and borrow a car. borrow money for a car. He can go right here, borrow the money, and use it to buy a car, and then pay himself back over a period of time with a small interest rate that will allow his bank to grow even larger.
Is there a maturity date test
What, for the loan?
for the policy?
It depends on how you structure it. Generally, no. But
You can open-ended.
you can open-end it, or you can say, I only want to pay for X amount of years. Okay? So I had one brother come and say, listen, I want to put in 24,000, and I want to do a structure of 2,000 per month for the next 10 years. And if I remember correctly, his premium amount, by the time he got finished, within that structured period, he would have had $3 million some odd dollars available to him in cash alone, let alone what the policy paid out. So what happens is this: the earlier you start something like this, the better. But even if you're late in life starting, the thing is you can still start it and create economic success in long
Can
term.
you plug my son in and give me a realistic kind of view?
Yes.
He's 23.
23. And how much would you want to put in per month?
500 a month.
And see, that's where I normally tell people anywhere from preferably 3 to 500. Minimally.
Anything lower
Now,
than
granted,
that is not, you know, it's not gonna do too much.
Right.
You saying this is money we saving up or this money we paying out for insurance?
What's happening is, it's both. It's actually both. What you're doing is you're creating what's called a private reserve account. And because it's a private reserve account, what you're doing is, long term, you're investing the, when I say, let me not use the word investing. You're putting the money into a whole life policy so that if God forbid something happens, you have money to pull from, you have liquidity, and you also have something that you're leaving long term for future generations. So you're actually accomplishing both goals at one time.
So I'm invested in the life insurance and not the bank.
No, it's not. It's called a private reserve bank because it's yours. So the word bank only, that's why it's called a private reserve bank, because it's privately reserved for you. So it's yours. You own it. Okay? And the company that I work with has not missed a dividend payment in over 100 years. The base amount, that interest rate is 4%. That's if they're doing bad. Right now we're at 5.35% right now.
Guaranteed rate of return?
Right now, yes. The
Guaranteed is 5.
The guaranteed is 4.
Right, just shy of
Present
6.
rate is 5.35.
You can appreciate it.
It can go up.
It's the policy.
Right. But the bottom is 4%.
4.
Yes. I'm going to try to do something that makes this a little bit more efficient. If it'll work. What happens is, if I do the calculation wrong, it becomes what's called a MEC, which is a modified endowment contract, so we don't want that to happen. Alright, so, probably make it a little bit more efficient, but I'm going to stick right here for a moment. Alright, so, what happens is this. By the end of the first year, they'll have $2,848 available to them. The face value of the policy is $355,300. That's going to increase over time. Within the second year is $394,000, but he has $5,700 available. Within 5 years, he has $19,000 available to him, but the policy itself will pay out $451,000. In 10 years, he will have $50,000 available to him, and the policy will pay out $541,000.
Wait a minute, stop right there. One second. Give me the 10-year quote now.
10-year, from cash, he'll have available is $50,000, and the actual benefit that will pay out if God forbid something happened would be $541,000.
Okay, at
That's 10 years.
13 years. Give me that one.
Is it okay if we go 15 in increments of 5? Or you prefer 15?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll take that.
Okay. I mean, if you want 13, I can go 13. The 13th would be 72,000.
That's what I was guessing.
And 592,000 available. Okay.
Go 15.
15 would be 87,000. And it would be 625,000. Were you trying to figure out when it got to 100,000?
I need a break-in figure.
Okay.
That's what I want. I want to break in for time.
But literally in 20 years.
Because like in 10 years, I'm putting in 60 and it's worth 50. You see what I'm saying?
This here, that's not. Don't look at a break even. This doesn't work exactly the same. See, what we're thinking about dollar for dollar, don't ever think dollar for dollar with something like this, because you don't want to go dollar for dollar, because you're creating long-term economics not only for him but for family and future generation. Because
well, I guess only in terms of usage of the money. If it's going to sit and compound, that's different.
That's what it's doing.
But we're talking about uses of the money.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Uses of the money. Or if now, like, if I give you 50 grand now to instead of 10 years later, if I give it to you now and do that,
let me show you.
That's
something.
a little different, and that's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you what happens if you did that.
That's a decision process.
Okay. Because we have people that do things like that.
Mm-hmm.
We have people that actually put in a lump sum, and then what they will do is they will
and I know there are different products. I mean, I'm not, totally unaware of like some of this.
Right.
I'm really not, but I'm just, I guess I'm just kind of going with how things are going. But I'm like with everything. You got basic questions.
Exactly. And nothing wrong with the questions. Questions definitely welcome.
I'm not trying to stop your normal flow though. I'm really not.
Oh no, it's cool. All right, so let's say we did 50,000, a direct input of 50,000. Okay. We have some people do that.
Because I think in your videos, and not to disrupt it, hopefully I'm not disrupting the process here, but in your videos, one of the key components that he mentioned is time.
Right.
Time is okay for young people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like my son is 18, he has 20, 30 years. He has maybe 40 years to do whatever he has to do. His maximum, I think, stretch out should be 30 years. Whatever you're going to plan over a period of 30 years, then when you retire, it's time. Retire, you got a big nest egg to fall back against.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Where if you want to choose to continue to work, you can. If you want to choose to retire, you can, and you'll be comfortable.
Exactly.
That's something I want to teach him now, as opposed to just save, and then, at the end of 30 years, you ain't saved enough to live off of or do anything with.
Exactly.
What's your name?
My name's Troy.
How often are you?
I'm here every week. Every single week. He is a non-smoker. Yes?
Yeah.
Alright, I'm going to just give a basic, and then we can talk a little later specifically. I'm going to just give a basic. Okay, so let's say he put in 50,000, and let's say he did a one-time 50,000. What would happen is that 50,000, 49,000 will be available immediately. when I say immediate, within after the first year. They normally you do let it sit for a year. What occurs is that it would be 337,978,000 would be the first year. Okay, because he's not adding into it anymore. It's just a $50,000 outlay. What happens is that changes over time. So what happens is if 50,000, it's 49,000 first year, 50,007, it's 14 of the second year. Within the 10th year, it's $66,000. Within the 15th year, it's 79,000. Within the 20th year, it's 93,000. So it will grow to $100,000 available to him by 22 years. That's just one input of 50,000. And so if you actually take and you look at a stable, I'm talking about stable because you know that 4% is there. If you look at a stable investment where you put that much money in and let it sit for that period of time, you're not going to find many others that would provide that type of outlay. Where he could actually borrow from it and have utilization and growth at the same time. Either you have utilization or you have growth. You don't have both. That makes sense.
I have a trust that's set up for myself. Unfortunately, I lost $80,000 in 2008 because of lack of proper investment advice.
Right.
But I just don't.
Yeah. So, that's basically, the purpose of this is just to show you that there are strategies that we can employ that can create circumstance for all of us. So let's say, for instance, all of us had something like this in place, and we had each, let's say, 50,000 available, and we found a $250,000 place we wanted to purchase, and we all pulled 50,000, and we did a contractual agreement, and we decided to go purchase something together. Now what happens is, let's say you find something and you're like, hey, all it's going to take is, 30,000 for each of us. And we looking at each other like, I barely make 30,000 a year. Where am I going to pull that 30,000 from? So the thing is, to make it better for future generations, what we are not doing presently is employing strategies such as this that's going to make those long-term decisions that will allow for the future generations to have it easier to now create those dynamics where they can now say, well, granddad did this for me. My father, he was very wealthy during his time. Did he leave anything? No. Lost it all. Why? How did that dynamic occur? We can't blame a white man for him losing it, but we can say that he didn't create the strategies for the future generation. And he could have. He didn't. And it was due to certain things. And it's okay. But what am I going to do now? I'm going to, like the brother talked about looking at the past. I look at the past for the purpose of learning, but I'm not going to make the same damn mistakes. Right. I'm going to do something different. So now that I've learned better, I do better. So this is one of the strategies I personally use. And I personally, started it, and I pulled money from it to see if it worked, because I need to make sure that it worked before I start talking about it. Because, my life, revolves around my word.
So normally companies, if you don't mind me asking, normally companies who do this provide these products, just like anything else, providing products and services, there's a fee, associated with the...
Well, no, there's not a fee associated.
It's not? Well, that's good. Okay.
If I work with a client that wants long-term, review and stuff like that, then I may say, hey, well, we need to employ a fee here because I'm actually doing work for you. I'm an accountant by trade. So if I'm going, but the first initial review, yada, 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 you decide that you want to set this up, there's no charge for that, right? Yeah. Now, again, if I'm working with someone that has other dynamics going on and they need me to do this and do that, then it's like, okay, we need to talk about those aspects of my services. But, just for this particular thing, no charge. Because I make my money with the setup anyway. So, it's not that I don't make money, it's just that I don't charge you for making money. Okay? Do we have any other questions?
Can institutions use this, or just individuals?
It
Like-
can be used for institution. There are companies that have set it up for companies, yes. So it's ways to do that, yes.
Like
But those,
Honor, like can Honor invest in this
I've
product?
been, that's a whole nother conversation.
Oh, okay. So because you talking about generating income every year, and we're sitting down here, and every time I hear about, oh, you didn't give it $10 in New York, in Philadelphia $10, maybe if we had this product, and people knew actually how much it would generate over a certain period of time, they would invest in it. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah,
what you're bringing up.
yeah, and it does, and that's why I'm sharing it. That is why I'm sharing it, because, but it starts with your personal economy first. You can't look at a government if you don't look at an individual. Because you create the economy within your government.
Right, I was gonna say, a government has the flexibility to create whatever type of income making mechanism that they choose. You know, because they have, what they govern is a commodity within itself.
Right, exactly.
You know, so you
just like I pay
you leverage that
taxes
commodity
every month.
against
Yeah.
whatever its potential
Right.
value is, and you
Right.
know, you reap what you
I
get
don't
from
know.
that.
Just like we pay taxes every month and every paycheck, because the United States government is going to use that taxes to.
Oh yeah, the play with.
So
pretty much.
What's the difference between Honor using this as?
But he didn't say not to.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that, but I mean, I
saying.
think think my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, the more of a commodity that you have, the higher scope that you look at. This is a minimum scope here for something on an individualized basis as opposed to like a.
Well, it can be deployed that way.
It really can,
it
but I'm
can
just
be,
saying the
but-
scale, I'm just saying you limit the scale here.
Right.
You know, when you talk about a whole, if I'm bringing, let me say this, if I got 1,000 people, just say, we're using little numbers, 1,000 people, okay, who have 500 a month. Now, I wouldn't want to be limited to this kind of scale. I wouldn't want to deal with this kind of product, not
Why?
at this level.
Why?
Because I would want something that would, instead of 4%, with the kind of money we bringing in on the bottom,
Okay.
I need
Think about this though, and this is where you have to.
a higher rate.
This is where you got to get to first. Is what are most people saving right now?
I got that, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is knowing if just say you do this, just for example, you do this every week and you bring in 10 people at the end of a month. Out of all the people that come in, you know, on Sundays, you bring in 10 people at the end of the month to commit to really following this and doing something and bettering their system. Okay. Say, okay, I got an organization, I got a group of folks. Okay, so I come here and I learn what you say, and I said, Dad, you know, this brother made a lot of sense about where we are, and blah, 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 and I pass this along, and I said, listen, group, okay, we need to do this as a group. It's good, it's really good. However, I think, here again, just like anything in the United States, the way it's structured, there's different kind of products. And I think I would want, because of the larger scale of investment, I would want a larger initial proposed return.
Like what?
Like triple this, 12 to
Okay.
15.
Who's getting that right now?
I don't know, but
Exactly.
listen, there is out there. As a matter of fact, there's
Okay.
there's a methodology that I'm getting ready to try to employ that guarantees by the government 16%.
By what government?
Federal government.
Now here's the circumstance. This has no connection to a federal.
No, and I
government.
understand
Oh,
it.
no,
It's a-
wait.
it's a
Let's-
product.
let's
Just a
think
simple
about this.
financial
So
product.
if the federal government financially fails, what happens to your investment?
And I understand that, but at this point, the way it's structured, your money's insured.
Okay.
And I understand
So
the way the financial system works. It can fail at any time. I got that, but that's just
Okay, so this is
What, let me say this, if the dollar crashes here,
Mhm.
what stops this from going wrong?
because it's not connected to just the United States.
No, if the dollar crashes
The
here.
dollar doesn't rule the world.
Now, I'm not saying it does.
So you'll notice that most wealthy
Dollar
people do
versus
not employ their
anything.
money in the
Only in
United States. They go where?
America.
They go to
It's worth
Switzerland.
nothing.
So my thing is that this isn't tied to the United States.
Say that later, what'd she say?
The
Let
dollar
me see.
isn't worth anything, the dollar is just a piece of paper.
Exactly.
No, not the dollar, the dollar, the paper, the dollar, the commodity.
The value of
There
the
is
dollar.
none.
You know-
There is none in American money, there is none.
But right
Only
now,
to us, that's how
what
they
I'm
think.
saying is right
It's
now is
not
that's
worth
what's.
anything. If, what you're saying, if anything, we should be investing in gold, diamonds, or oil.
Exactly.
Well,
And that's what I'm
sure,
gonna go to.
absolutely.
Something that is worth
Absolutely.
something. That's how you
Absolutely.
triple
Now
it.
see,
That's
Absolutely.
how you
now,
wanna see
brother,
it fast then.
this is the reason why I shared this. Because let's say right now, I said to all of you, we have an opportunity to invest in gold.
Right.
Let's all pull together 10,000 apiece and invest into gold. How many of us have $10,000 right now that we can pull from somewhere to invest?
Not I.
Now, most of us don't. So what this does is it gives you an economic base to start from, not for right now, because we have to build to that.
Right.
But we gotta start building. The problem is, and I appreciate what you're talking about, and because I do want to get to the larger numbers, but I can't talk about the larger numbers to everybody, because larger numbers don't work for most people.
I was only hypothetically addressing what the brother here said.
Right.
Does this apply? Can this, in a governmental or group situation,
Mhm.
does this work?
And it does in that sense of starting somewhere.
Right,
Because then
but
we
that's
build, and
what I
then
was
now
saying.
we can I'll put it like this: 5 years is going to happen either way, right?
Right.
So imagine if we employ this for 5 years, and then all be able to take 5,000, pull together, and then buy gold, buy diamonds, buy silver, buy some commodity that then takes us to the level you're talking about. The challenge is that we always want to start here, and we're here, so we have to and I'm talking about all of us, not, because some of us are here already. Not all of us. Some
No,
of us
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? So what
I
I'm
don't knock
going
none of that.
what I want to
Okay,
do
I
is
got
deal
you.
with where we can all take part. Whether it's that, someone starts at 200 a month, whether someone starts at 300, 400, 500. The reason why I started at 200, because the reason why I say that is because if you don't start at least at 200, you're not doing much. Because I know people waste more than 200 a month. I know it for a fact.
That's a pack of cigarettes a day. I mean, really.
Right.
If you smoke cigarettes, that's a pack of cigarettes a day.
So the thing is, we can start. I mean, you know how women are. They go out and buy weave, right? Not all of them, but some go out and buy weave. I've seen 500,000 for weave,
Pocketbook.
1,000 for weave. I'm like, how did you do that?
Pocketbook, just a pocketbook.
Pocketbook,
For
shoes.
for the girly girls.
And
a
then for the
pocketbook,
guys
shoes.
with our Jordans and our Xboxes and all kinds of stuff like that.
But that's, still part of our problem.
So
That
what we have to do
mentality
is
shift.
shift
That's
our
it.
mindset relative to money and how it works. So I know it's a little mundane at the beginning of it, because I just wanted to get you formulate in your head how money works and how we're expending money, but we're not bringing it back in. So the purpose of me showing the first portion, talking about how a mortgage is amortized, was just to show you how we're giving away money hand over fist. But what do we have employed that's going to earn us the compounding interest without interrupting over a period of time? So this is a great way to start that conversation, see how we can employ certain strategies and create for long term our children's children. Does that make sense to everyone?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So that was really it, unless we have any questions.
Talking about investments, I also know about international investments, fixed rates for other central bank systems in other countries. I know about. I have people who invested in Botswana, Nigeria, and they have more like 12%, 60%, over
Well,
over short-term periods.
Yeah, world market trading is a little different than where we're starting, and I think what he's basically saying.
Right, but I'm just saying exposure
The spokesman.
to different instruments you can use is out there.
Now, question: when you said 12%, is that something that's guaranteed, or is that
Yes,
something
yes,
that can
yes.
fluctuate
No,
and you lose?
no,
So
it's
there's
fixed.
no possibility of loss.
What you signed up for is what you get it over the period of time. Trust me, my mother just invested in it right now. She $100,000.
Okay, so your mother had $100,000.
Well, hold on. Everybody is not going to invest $100,000, but I'm just saying is you can invest whatever you want. My sister invested $15,000, depending on where you're coming from.
Had $15,000.
You got 12.
The reason why I make that statement, I'm not coming against what you're saying. Hear me out.
Yeah.
You just said she had 15,000. How many of you in the room have 15,000 that's liquid that you can invest? See, what I'm saying is this, is that we have to get to the point where we have the 5,000, the 10,000,
What we do, if you cut down the expenses you make that are not necessary, you know what, you can have it.
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna agree with him.
Right?
In all honesty, if you really, honestly, if you really kind of do, if you really kind of doing anything,
Don't do it.
right today, if you really kind of doing anything, and I see your
You're
point.
talking about the average person. Anybody wants to.
Let me say this, worker. Worker.
You know, it's funny.
Is you have access. You have access to the money. Okay. You have access. Yeah, you can make access to the money. I mean, banks created that way to make a profit. We can use their structure to make a profit, to use that money to make money for ourselves as well. You know, for example, let me say this. This is as out there as it might be, you know, because a lot of us fall short here in this area, and that's credit. Okay, for the ones that don't, okay, who do okay, who're just trying and they're doing okay, they're just not making a whole lot of money, but they're still exposed to credit. Instead of just simply using credit to buy things, you can use the credit that they're trying to sell you to make money to make money.
So answer me a question, and see, this is where I take it then, and I'm glad you said that. All right, so 15,000. Let's say I have $15,000 in a savings account, and I took, or let's say a 401k, or let's say on a credit card, and I pulled that 15,000, and I invested into something like you're talking about.
Fixed rate.
How long does it have to sit there?
It can sit there a year, and you.
No. What's the shortest period it can sit there?
1 year.
Okay. So let's
Or
say
6 months.
let's say I had an emergency circumstance happen within that 6 months to a year, and I needed access to that 15,000. What do I do?
Borrow money from other people around you. You have family, friends, all kinds of other people that you can borrow money from.
Okay. So let me humbly submit it to you. I just shared this. Suppose you take that 15,000, you do a lump dump into something like this. It's available to you right away. You then pull it from here and make your investment there. Now you have 15,000 there growing at 12%. You got 15,000 here growing at 5.35%. Who wins?
Oh, you win.
So what I'm saying is that,
but it's not.
Hold on.
It's not just. So it's not just saying let's use one product. It's saying let's use a multitude of products to optimize the result that we're trying to get here. This is one product.
So now
what
you got
saying is another
16% or 17% at one time. What I'm saying is, what we do is we always say, well, this product or employment is better. What I'm saying is that while I agree with 12%, I'm not trying to take away from 12%. My thing is, why not have both?
Because the versatility of the product is going to determine its wealth. That's right.
Exactly. So my thing is, if I say, here's $100 in this hand and $50 in this hand, which would you like? What would you say?
I was more addressing what the sister was talking about. Well, I don't have the money.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. A lot of times we say that. However, we can kind of get that money. I mean, I
don't agree that average person can get 15,000.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you can get. I'm
not
saying you can get 15,000 just like that. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, what I am saying, there are.
An investment like this, we thinking like we need that like right now. I get what you're saying. I probably save me a whole bunch of money if I stop drinking, and I can invest that into what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I totally understand
that.
But the average person really don't have no stacks of money to just go invest.
No,
now my question to you is it wise to buy stocks like in Nike and them, all the major corporations that I don't really want to support, but they getting so much money from us? Would it be wise to invest in a company like that?
I wouldn't suggest that first. I would suggest that secondarily. And the reason why I suggest that secondarily is because you're talking about now going into a volatile and unstable market. You have no idea what's going to happen with your rate of return. The reason why I share with people to employ this first is because you're talking about starting out stable rate over a period of time. You're going to now be able to control financially what's happening in this arena. You don't have any control within the stock market. Now, you employ it for a few years, you get to a point where you now have some money stacked. Now you speak to the brother here, you start doing some investment in that arena, you got money growing in both places. Now you say, I want to diversify my portfolio, I would like to now invest in Nike or whatever, then great. But to start there, no, I would never suggest someone start there.
And I guess what I was saying more than,
Yes.
I was saying more than anything, like in a situation where someone feels as though there is no access at all to any money, you know, but they have a regular job. And what I'm trying to say is, in a lot of situations that we're not absolutely, you know, just thinking about in just in different perspectives, it's like credit, just like banks use credit to make money, we can also use the credit that they're willing to extend to us to make money via credit cards, as opposed to going spending and buying.
You know what?
You know, I take just say you give me a card that has a $4,000, just minute $4,000 credit limit, and you'll give me 0% for the first 12 to 18 months.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to take that $4,000 and I'm going to put it in something. You know what I'm saying? It's going to make me some money.
Like 12 pair of Nike sneakers. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
No,
I'm joking.
see,
but that's what
yeah.
we do.
But that's what I'm saying.
But
that's,
you're saying do
that's what we
that.
need to get away from. You know, to say the money is there. Let's come up with some tools that we can use this money for while it's free. It ain't free. You got to pay it back. But now you got 12 to 18 months to pay back a lump sum of money that ain't nobody else giving you.
Right.
Now, if you're smart and you got something that you can use it for, that's going to make your money back, you're going to grind hard and you're going to get your money back. You pay off them. You said now you done established a good credit base. Now they're going to increase your credit rate.
Right.
So instead of $4,000, they're going to say, oh yeah, we like you.
Right.
Okay, we're going to give you $8,000.
Right.
So now if you got your thing in place, now you got $8,000 that you can use again. You know, it might cost you a little extra this time. It might cost you 3% to tap the $8,000. Okay, but still, what happens? You're still making money from that money. Now, if you don't have a plan, then this ain't for you. But I'm just saying, this is for a person that says, enough.
Yeah, I'm not making money.
Exactly.
But then you work every day. That's why I set the condition first, the prerequisite first. You have a job. This works for you, but you don't have a couple thousand in the bank. Apply for a credit card. Ain't nobody saying you gotta buy shoes and jewelry and clothes with that. You make that money work for you.
But see, here's the circumstance. I work with money management all the time.
Right.
And what I find is most people aren't in position where they can get a 0% credit card. Most people are not in position where they can apply and get a credit card.
That's where the education needs to come in at, man.
But see, here's the deal. We actually do that piece as well. So see, like, what happens is, when I'm doing these different segments, I can only do a segment of, I can't do the full, because if I did the full, we'd be here all day. So, like the brother right here, he's one of the major people that I utilize when it comes to helping people do the repair piece and get themselves up to snuff where they can take and begin to operate differently from a financial perspective.
I guess what I would
So we must begin to do is employ various strategies, a multitude of strategies for those that are already at the economic level where they can navigate with 15,000 and invest in something in Botswana. Great, let's do that. But for the people that are, I don't know how to save money. I do have a job. I get paid every week. I'm not saving anything, but you know, I am doing all these other things. So what we then do is say to those individuals, hey, let's sit down with you and do a game plan and show you how to put aside $200 a week over a certain period of time and show them